Hey everyone, it's Michael. Today we're going to talk about how to counter being tunneled in Dead by Daylight in 2024. It's been a really big problem. I've seen a lot of people talking about this, that they get tunneled every game or they're having a really hard time dealing with tunneling killers. Whether you feel like you're always being the player that's tunneled in your Swift or you queue in solo and you feel like the killer always tunnels you, these two steps are bound to change that. I divided this video into two parts. The first part are the steps or the methods how to counter being tunneled, and two, an actual in-game situation of me applying the method and showing you that it actually works. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this. I'm also live on Twitch right now streaming Dead by Daylight. This is my stream schedule right here. The link for my Twitch is in the description below. This anti-tunnel method and mindset is something that took me about 6,000 hours to fully realize. Okay, first thing we're going to do here is actually define tunneling. What is tunneling? I'm going to define it right now as being the first survivor eliminated in the match. This is a pretty blanket definition. This is actually not what tunneling is exactly. For the simplicity of this video, this is what we're defining tunneling as. Countering tunneling in Dead by Daylight is a balance between playing carefully and pushing generators throughout the game. First step is the easiest step. You need to bring in an anti-tunnel build. Not just any build, one of these two builds right here. Sprint Burst is the best survivor perk in Dead by Daylight. It's a built-in anti-tunnel perk. A lot of times the killer will see you, and if you have your Sprint Burst ready, if you just sprint a straight line away from them, they are not going to chase you. And if you pair that with Distortion, that counters all aura reading perks in Dead by Daylight. I've kept data on all of the games that I've been playing as survivor. I've got 6,000 hours in Dead by Daylight, and actually Lethal Pursuer is run about 25% of the time in my games during February. If you have Distortion, you're going to lose a token at the beginning of the game and not even be seen, and therefore not going to be the first survivor chased. Distortion paired with Sprint Burst almost guarantees that you're not going to be the first survivor chased. I would actually recommend the first build over the second build. The second build does have 2 second chance perks, but I'm telling you right now, Sprint Burst with Distortion is the best built-in anti-tunnel in Dead by Daylight. Once the killer sees you have Sprint Burst and you get a huge distance on them, they're not going to want to chase you. If you're with a group of survivors doing a gen and the killer comes over to the gen, the killer is going to chase the person who does not have Sprint Burst. Distortion denies the best tunneling killers in Dead by Daylight the ability to use aura reading perks, which is actually massive. Instead of revealing your aura to the killer, you lose a token, you do not reveal your aura to the killer, and you don't leave scratch marks for 10 seconds. So Sprint Burst Distortion, highly underrated combination of perks, and it's not really just for immersive gamers. In the right hands, used properly, this is one of the best anti-tunnel combinations in the game right now. The second build here obviously has Decisive Strike and Off the Record. These are 2 second chance perks. We'll actually get into this later in the video, and both perk builds have windows of opportunity. This allows you to see all of the pallets that are on the map. It's going to allow you to run the tiles properly, see where the nearest pallet is, and show you where dead zones exist when you would not have known otherwise. These are the 2 anti-tunnel builds that I would highly recommend. Of course, there are some variants to this build that actually might work better for you. Instead of Adrenaline or Decisive Strike, for example, you could swap it out for one of these perks. They're both really good builds, but I do have to say that Sprint Burst and Distortion seems to be the best anti-tunnel combination in the game right now. In order to record clips for tunneling killers in this video, I actually had to swap out Distortion for Off the Record because I wasn't getting tunneled enough. Just because built into the Sprint Burst Distortion combination, killers simply will not tunnel you. So the first step is picking that anti-tunnel build. The second step is the anti-tunnel method. And the anti-tunnel method is, once you've been hooked once, do whatever it takes to not be the first survivor to second hook. So notice this method is only pretty much active once you've been hooked once. If you haven't been hooked at all, you can and should be doing aggressive generators and aggressive saves. If you haven't been hooked, pretty much you can play aggressively, you can greed at loops for extra laps, and you can rush center gens, all if you have not been hooked yet. The key to this anti-tunnel method is assume the killer is keeping track of hook states in their head and is going to tunnel you. After you've been hooked once, if nobody else has been hooked twice, assume the next chase is going to be your last chase in the game. Make the killer work so hard for every single hit in your second chase such that if they chase you, they will lose the game. The anti-tunnel method is best summarized in 6 steps. We're going to go over those 6 steps right now. Just remember, after you've been hooked once, follow the anti-tunnel method until somebody has been hooked twice that isn't you. You should stop doing this method once a teammate reaches second stage before you. The first step to the anti-tunnel method is know your exact pathing if the killer returns to the hook. So while you're on your first hook, you should know exactly which pallet you're going to if the killer returns to the hook immediately after you've been unhooked. You have 10 seconds of enhanced endurance to find that safe pallet given no BT. So identify which loop you're going to run to while you're hanging on the hook. The second step, which I see a lot of veteran players neglecting, is prioritize healing if the killer doesn't return to hook. If you've been hooked once and nobody else has been hooked twice, assume the killer is going to tunnel you for the rest of the game the next time that they see you. Don't go rush a gen, don't heal anyone else first, prioritize healing yourself as fast as possible if the killer gives you time. Step number 3 is do not rely on second chance perks or endurance to save yourself or teammate. teammates. This step is pretty much for right after you've been unhooked. Do not purposely feed yourself to the killer and take an endurance hit for your teammate once you've been unhooked. Run a straight line away from the killer to that pallet loop with your sprint burst and your haste. You're only going to take that endurance status effect hit if the killer actively tunnels you off of the hook. Remember, this method is only active if nobody else has been hooked twice. So your teammate who is saving should be able to take a hit for you rather than you using your endurance. Also, part of this step 3 is assuming the killer knows in advance about your second chance perks. Do not rely on your second chance perks. The only way you're going to use your second chance perks is if the killer forces you to use them. Literally play as if you do not have those second chance perks. Step number 4 is to actually use the pallets while you're in chase. Even though you've only been hooked once, assume this second chase is going to be your last chase of the game. Actually use the resources in this chase. If you're going to your second hook with a lot of pallets still on the map, you've made a mistake. So when you've been hooked once, don't greed extra laps at the loop and don't rely on second chance perks. Don't feed yourself to the killer and use your second chance perks. Make the killer have to break so many pallets that if they want to get you to be the first one to second hook, they're going to lose so many gens in doing so. So they're pretty much going to throw the entire game if they prioritize getting you to death hook first. Step 5 is only complete safer gens. And of course, this is only until someone else is on death hook or all of you have been hooked once. Don't fight for that gen in the center of the map unless you're absolutely sure it's safe to do so. Let others on your team with less hook states repair center gens and break up 3 gens. Step 6 is only hook save if it's safe to do so. So you can go for saves if it's not a trade. Remember, this is only active if you've been hooked once and no one is on death hook. So we're talking about saving someone else who is also on their first hook here. These are the 2 situations where you can save without trading. One is the killer is not proxying or face camping, so you can save safely without trading, meaning you will not be the first survivor to second hook. Or 2, you and a teammate are running in for the save, one of you takes a hit and the full health survivor saves without trading. So during a coordinated save, the person who is saving should be full health. If you want to trade with a teammate on a hook, you do you. But the bottom line is, if you're doing that, you're putting yourself as the first survivor on death hook and you're not following the anti-tunnel method. If your teammate's about to phase and the killer is proxying or coordinated save is not occurring, I'd recommend that you just sit on a gen. If your teammate's about to phase and the killer's making a safe unhook impossible, trading is essentially putting you on your second hook instead of the person who's on the hook. The bottom line is, if a safe unhook is not happening, someone is going to second phase. Either it's you if you decide to trade or it's them by phasing. So if somebody has to go to second phase, it's more beneficial for you to actually let them phase and sit on a gen. Because if you decide to go in there and trade, there's actually one less person on a gen. If you follow these 6 steps and perform well in your chases, it's near impossible for the killer to tunnel you out of the game. If the killer is still able to tunnel you out of the game and you followed the anti-tunnel method to a T, most of the time either your chases or decisions could have been better, or your teammates did not press gens hard enough and that's out of your control. So the 6 steps in the anti-tunnel method are only active if you are on first hook and nobody else has reached second hook. Once you've been hooked once, do whatever it takes to not be the first survivor to second hook. You can still do safe gens, you can still do safe hook saves, but assume the killer is going to tunnel you the next time they see you. I don't really consider this mindset to be selfish, because in summary, it's playing carefully and letting teammates who have less hook states do the more aggressive things in the game. I've found that if every single player on your team actually plays with this method in mind, the vast majority of games, it's 4 people escaping. So now we're going to look at 2 actual games featuring the anti-tunnel method. I'm going through the steps in live time. Here's those games. All right. Anti-tunnel method again. It helps when you have a survivor that looks exactly like you in the game. We do not want to be the first one to second hook. Is how we're going to play this. We have survivors on gens. I want to do an aggressive. I would like to do an aggressive gen at first. There's a scream. That's the ultimate weapon. And it's a Chucky. And he has selected his target, maybe. Look at that. So we had sprint burst. We ran a straight line away from that killer. And he has decided, nope, not going for the sprint burst gamer. So sprint burst gamers, in my opinion, this is just a perfect example of why sprint burst gamers are the least likely to be tunneled. Because the killer does not even want to initiate the chase. I was the closest to the killer for a second there. And he was deciding to chase me. And then he saw the sprint burst. He's like, no. Okay, think about this killer that actually a lot of people do not know. That I've watched people play, and I feel like a lot of people don't know, is when Chucky's in his hidey ho mode, he's completely undetectable. So he's going to have line of sight on you in some areas where you're going to be really, really caught off guard by him. The way to not be caught off guard by him is to listen. You have to use your ears to know where he is when he's in his hidey ho mode, because he is constantly chuckling. He's constantly laughing or saying voice lines. You will always hear him, so you need to listen when he's in hidey ho. That is how you locate him through walls. He's using his the ultimate weapon. He's gonna know we're here. I got my sprint burst back, so therefore I'm not going to be chased if she doesn't have sprint burst. So he actually, it looked like he was actually trying to chase us then. So just keep running in a straight line, and we have so much distance on him from the sprint burst. He's decided he doesn't want to chase us. We don't have to be as careful right now because we haven't been hooked once. So we can like run those loops of those pallets. We can greed for that extra lap at the loop. We can hook save. We can do aggressive gens. But once we are hooked once and nobody's on death hook is when the game changes for us. So I'm going to do this gen right here, actually. I almost have a sprint burst back, too. So it is actually a smart play. I'm probably the best candidate to do it. Because I'm the only full health survivor that hasn't been hooked, and I have sprint burst, and he doesn't have fearmonger. So we should do the center gen here. So he's in his hidey ho mode, so we listen. And we heard him and we reacted as soon as we heard him. Even with his dash, we were actually able to counter it. We gotta make a choice. Do we drop this? He respected it. That's good to know. He's got Sloppy Butcher. But I didn't throw the pallet because actually I haven't been hooked yet. So I'm full health. There's no reason for me to throw that pallet. I actually put him in a really good spot, whether he knew it or not. We might have been able to make that second vault, but if I had been hooked once, even on full health, the state of Dead by Daylight and the nature of tunneling, like for example, if I was full health in the hook states look like this, I would probably drop that God pallet and make him work for that first hit. Absolutely. What is your most wanted map? My most wanted map is the Bates Motel. Okay, so we don't want to be the first one to death hook. So we receive a heal. He's returning back to the hook, possibly to tunnel us. Now, do we feed ourselves to him? We do not. He's moonwalking. We're totally silent. He's trying to tunnel us right now. So we use our sprint burst. We're going to go to Killer Shack. I have off the record right now. I'm not actually going to use it unless I have to. I'm going to use the God Pallet before off the record because I don't want to be tunneled. I'm out of here. I still have off the record. He's still chasing me. He's now up. He's still chasing me. This is good. This is good. This is showcasing the anti-tunnel mindset. I'm going to have one hit to get to a pallet here. Well played.
Dude, I'm dead-hearted. There's too much ping on this server.
I will use this pallet immediately. Right into adrenaline. Perfect. Notice how I used the pallet before the vault in that situation. So now if I get tunneled out of this game, I can at least say I have used the resource that he had to break. He's still on us. We're still being tunneled. I'm going to drop this right now. He's probably going to scamper under it. He did. And we loop the best we can. It's Chucky. So I'm actually going to wait at the pallet. He's waiting for a scamper shortly. He double scampered, I heard. Okay. Both gates are 99s. I saw that they were worked on. Flashlight save. We go straight in for the gate, which is I'm running this way. They're going to be taking hits for me. Both gates are 99 though, remember. Nice hit. Aiden now has to open the gate because she is closer. And that is going to be a GG's. And that is actually just following the anti-tunnel method to a T to make it such that we are not the first survivor to death hook there. That's a totem broken. There's on another totem as well. I'm on the center gen. I don't actually know where this killer is. He did not have Fearmonger though. That's the reason I waited so long. Would you look at that? We are not being chased because we have Sprint Bursts. Sprint Burst is an anti-tunnel perk built in itself. That was such a good moonwalk, Lighthide. Well played, man. He didn't have line of sight on us for so long, yet he still did the moonwalk. That was a good play. We don't necessarily have to heal because we have not been hooked yet, but we still will. Sprint burst and a full health survivor is a really good combination of things to have to not be chased. That is his corrupt intervention gone. He did not down anyone, so that was 2 minutes of time that passed. Deactivated corrupt intervention. He's got one person infected. He's got no pressure out whatsoever other than that. So he is behind in the game right now and probably going to be looking to tunnel someone out early. We're already anticipating this. He's going to fall behind on gens. If he doesn't have deadlock, he's going to be put in a really uncomfortable situation where he needs to tunnel survivor out to make it a 3v1 as fast as he can. And we're going to do our best to make us not that survivor without sandbagging, of course. Anti-tunnel method is not about sandbagging. It's one gen and that's likely no deadlock, so he is in trouble. There's probably going to be complaints about the vault out front of the school after this game and how OP that is. Now it can be recycled 3 times. 3 survivors on 3 separate gens right now. It's crazy. And it looks like Adam's going to be that first person hooked potentially. He's got Adam infected. So Adam it might be in a difficult spot here. Let's see how well Adam handles it. We have enough charges to heal Adam off the hook. We also want to go get a vaccine for Adam in anticipation of him being tunneled. So we can just hand it to him once we unhook him, potentially. No real reason to save the sprint burst here. I just know the chest is nearby. This killer is like, oh my god, 3 gens. This person's not even on the hook yet. I need to eliminate a player. I'm going to proxy / tunnel this Adam for the rest of the game. Get them out. That is the mindset. I actually don't know if basement's in main building or shack. He might have broken the wall there to prep this area. That's why it took so long for him to pick up Adam. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. We should not save Adam right away. There's a zombie proxying the hook too. Noted. He just got rid of the zombie that was going to proxy the hook for him and make this save a little more difficult. He should not have gotten rid of that zombie. I get that it gave him mutation rate. Look at that. He's proxying. He's not on anyone, by the way. They're both doing gens. Okay, he's on her. Okay, so we need to heal him immediately. So we use this first. We vaccinate him first. Because we're a good guy schmuck. And then we heal him with our medkit. And then we go to Claudette's gen and we do Claudette's gen. And this guy's now full health. He doesn't have any problems. He has all the tools he needs to not be tunneled if this killer returns to this hook. Personally, I would not go towards the killer here, and he kind of is. You see, his pathing went towards the killer. That is not good anti-tunnel etiquette there. He was on the hook. He saw who was in chase. And he knew where the killer was, and he still ran towards the killer when he was unhooked. So I would argue that that was a bad choice. This killer is way behind in this game and has him injured. Gonna get him to death hook. Gonna tunnel him because of that decision off the hook to run towards the killer. He just took an endurance status effect hit. So he either had dead hard or he had off the record, and he wanted to flex that towards the killer. Do not use that unless you absolutely have to for the anti-tunnel method. Do not use it unless you absolutely have to, because now he's encouraging a tunnel. He's not allowed to complain about tunneling now because of how he played just then. There was a gen that was actually had some progress on over here. And now he is doomed to be tunneled. Because he didn't follow anti-tunnel method. We'll complete this gen. That looked like Thrilling Tremors because he did not have deadlock. I do have adrenaline, so we make this chase last as long as possible. I'm shocked the killer's not going to proxy this hook. Killer vaulted the window. We'll waste this killer's time for as long as possible. We're not actually intending using this window. Did hit that. Well played. They're on the gen. I get adrenaline here any second. Do I drop this pallet? I don't drop the pallet because I have adrenaline and I am not on death hook, or I'm not the first one to death hook. Potentially. That was really well played. And they're both on the gate, so he doesn't have no way out. So we use this hit and go straight out if we can. I see the light on the gate all the way over there. Nice play. Oh my god, there's a zombie there that could have downed us. Claudette's taking a hit like a champion. I think we get out here. Open the gate. Let me take the shortest route out. Nice. Sidestep from Michaela. Body block. Game over. I'm gonna leave because if he hits us actually sideways, if he hits us from the side, we can actually go sideways or back into the map, which is that might be what just happened there to Michaela. Okay, no one got tunneled there. Adam was very close to being tunneled there. GG's, GG's. He had dead hard and not off the record, by the way. If you were educated, informed, or entertained by this video, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. And reminder, I'm also live on Twitch right now streaming Dead by Daylight. Link for that in the description below. That does it for this video. Goodbye.